The ALCAT test is the gold standard for food sensitivity testing. But why? Imagine you're a detective. Your captain hands you a list of 200 suspects and asks you to determine which ones are troublemakers. The captain's looking for a type of naughty or nice list. Your suspects are not necessarily all bad guys, it's just a list of anyone who had access to the area. Your plan A is to pull fingerprints from anything with evidence of wrongdoing over the last 6 months and draw your conclusions from that. The summary to your captain will break down like this. A lot of fingerprints means they're very bad, some fingerprints means they're a little bad, and no fingerprints means they're good. The evidence piles up and before long, a picture starts to emerge. It's immediately clear there are definitely some troublemakers on the list. At the same time, you start to see problems with your method. First, you notice that most of the fingerprints have vanished from the older evidence. It looks like the fingerprints have a half-life of around 30 days, meaning after 30 days, just half of the fingerprints remain, and after 60 days, just half of those are still around. Next, you realize that many of your suspects most likely haven't been in the area within the last 6 months. Since there's no evidence, does that guarantee they're one of the good guys? Finally, there are several fingerprints from suspects who are known to have been in the area several times each day for months. This makes it very hard to tell if they're a little bad or very bad. Plan B is a bit of a sting operation. You set up an opportunity for mischief, arrange for the suspect to unwittingly participate, and record the events. After watching 200 suspects subjected to the same situation, you were able to confidently give your report to the captain. You not only knew exactly who the troublemakers were, you also knew how much trouble they'd cause. Plan A is an example of an IgG test and is the most commonly used food sensitivity test. It's a dead blood test that relies on existing IgG antibody levels to determine whether or not a sensitivity exists and the severity of it. Like our story, IgG antibodies have about a 30-day half-life, so this test is highly dependent on recent exposure to the food. Also, mild sensitivity foods that are consumed frequently can be reported as a severe sensitivity due to high exposure and therefore high levels of IgG antibodies. Plan B is similar to the ALCAT test. The ALCAT test is a live blood cell test that measures how your white blood cells react to each of the different substances. This is how it works. First, these lab geeks measure 5 samples of your blood with nothing added to determine a baseline. The resulting graph will tell them the size and therefore the type of your white blood cells and the number of cells. Next, they'll separate and incubate your blood with each of the foods or chemicals being tested. Finally, each sample is measured and compared against your baseline. Reactive cells increase in size in preparation to defend the body and decrease after degranulation. Non-reactive samples will virtually lay over top of the baseline control, where reactive samples will show a shift. Our white blood cells react, and ALCAT measures it. Hard to do, but easy to understand. ALCAT simplifies the report by dividing substances into groups: non-reactive, mild sensitivity, moderate sensitivity, and severe sensitivity. It's literally the difference between trying to piece together incomplete evidence versus watching the surveillance tape.